Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WWE Money in the Bank 2022 preview and predictions. John, we have got 6 matches booked for this show, and I'm telling you right now, I care about 3 of them.
I'm probably in the same place as you. Obviously, I care about the 2 ladder matches. And God, looking at the rest of the card, I honestly might even be less than you. Is it Usos versus Street Profits the other one you care about?
Yes.
Should be fun, but dude, I've been so checked out of the WWE product. I know you have as well. That I just, God, it's rough. So yeah, I think looking at this, my hype level, and really it is being carried, and I cannot emphasize that word enough, carried by the 2 ladder matches. I would say my hype still comes in at a 7 out of 10, but do not kid yourself. That is entirely derivative of the gimmick of who's going to get these fucking contracts. Everything else, if it weren't for these 2 ladder matches, this would probably just be a pay-per-view we skip because there is nothing going on here. I mean, Roman has kind of pulled a Brock, and he's not even defending the title anymore on consecutive pay-per-views, which, I mean, the man's earned a right to a vacation, no doubt. Like, I'm not trying to say Roman shouldn't take time off, but when you've got both world titles, you see the corner you kind of back yourself into. So yeah, I'm standing at a 7, but again, only because of the ladder matches. Everything else looks kind of mad to me, and I feel so bad for Bianca Belair. Rhea Ripley and her, we're going to tear the fucking house down, I think. And Carmella's not a bad worker. This isn't a Carmella diss, but like, she doesn't have anywhere near the momentum or the heat that Rhea would have had going into this. And it just makes the match uncompelling because I feel like Carmella, because she's so dependable, it's like, oh, just slot Carmella into that spot, it'll be fine. But like, not really, because it's not just the match, it's the environment surrounding the match. And they're not going to be able to generate the kind of environment that those two would have.
And
So,
you know what, dude? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't hate Carmella. I don't think Carmella's horrible, but her being the opponent kills my interest in that match. It didn't have to be Rhea. You know I love Rhea, and you know I would have been hyped as hell for Rhea versus Bianca. But if you couldn't do Rhea, you could have done Asuka, who's in Money in the Bank, actually. Let me look at the Money in the Bank field to make sure that I'm not... Okay, so they got Asuka, Liv, Becky. Okay. So, not counting any of the women in Money in the Bank, you still could have literally just picked Carmella's partner, Queen Zelina, and I immediately would have cared more about this match than it is with Carmella in it.
bro, I am definitely not speaking for you on this. I am solely speaking for me, and I want to stress that to our audience. I feel like Ronda and Natalia, just with the Twitter stuff, did a better job promoting their match than whatever Bianca and Carmella have done last minute. I don't blame them for that because it was pretty last minute, it felt like.
Oh, you know what?
But
I'm seeing that Queen Zelina is inactive due to a knee injury. So this really is just a case where they just had nobody else.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the
So
thing is, the brand split is dead, so you could have still brought, like, say, I don't know, Shayna Baszler over since she's not in Money in the Bank.
yeah, dude, the underutilization of Shayna Baszler this fucking late into the game continues to baffle my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all.
Yeah. But regardless, really unfortunate circumstances there with Rhea being hurt, Zelina being hurt, and pretty much all of your other decent in-ring workers on Raw, as far as the women go, being in Money in the Bank. But, you know, that's just kind of how the cookie crumbled on this one. So, do we want to get into our predictions, man?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Or actually, did you give a hype level number?
Oh, I said 7. What was yours?
Oh, God. You're all the way up at a 7.
Again, just for the ladder matches, honestly, it's like it's carrying this fucking show hard for me because the
Okay.
undercard I'm really not like.
I am going to give it a 5.5.
That's honestly very fair. That's very fair.
Because I
Again,
don't get anywhere close to as invested in the Money in the Bank ladder matches as you do.
yeah, you know this is my pay-per-view. So, like, that's another thing, too. Anybody that's thinking, like, John's being a bit hyperbolic, you have to look at my history on this show. Every year when we talk about this pay-per-view, I'm hyped. In fact, if anything, this is the least hyped I've been for Money in the Bank. And even though 7 is a high number, like, in isolation and context, I feel like I've consistently given 8s and 9s in years prior. But this year, like I'm done with the fucking games. I'm still invested in the ladder matches, but eh. In fact, honestly, the more I think about it, bump me down a whole point to a 6. So I'll be like a half point ahead of you. Because yeah, the ladder matches are still carrying it, but 7 is still kind of high. That undercard really does nothing for me. I'm checked out.
Speaking of the undercard, let us get into our predictions with our women's title matches. And I hate that they've fallen this far, but I genuinely do not give a fuck about either one of them. And frankly, I feel like they are both locks to be retentions.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, honestly. I really don't see any title changes happening.
I think this is basically the spots that Sasha and Naomi were trying to avoid being put in.
Yes.
And I do
Completely
not
agree
blame
with you.
them one bit. So that was a quick 2-for-1 shot, double prediction, bang bang, right out of the way. The next match that I also do not give a fuck about is Theory defending the U.S. title against Lashley, but I am a little more up in the air as far as who wins. I'm not really certain either way.
I think Theory is still the pet project right now, so I think he'll find a way to win, especially since Lashley's babyface. That kind of clears the room for Theory to do something heelish to cheat to win.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with Theory to retain.
Yeah, and Lashley doesn't have MVP anymore either because he's with Omos now. So I think I'm going to agree with you and also go with Theory to retain. Then we get to the undisputed WWE Tag Title match, the Usos versus the Street Profits, and I will take the initiative here and say I actually think the Street Profits are going to win and get the titles here.
I agree, and it'll give something for Roman to kind of lord over them. Like, I'm a champion, and you already kind of screwed it up for the
Yeah,
bloodline.
that's kind of how I'm seeing it, and not only that, but also I think Roman's absence will be used as like a reason as to why the Usos lost. Like, damn, y'all can't even retain the titles without me being around, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Street Profits to win. Are you agreeing with me on the Street Profits winning?
Yes, I'll actually go with you on that.
Wow. Okay. I thought I was gonna be making a controversial pick there, but you just signed right on. Which Money in the Bank match are you more hyped for?
You know what? We got to stop worrying about sounding terrible for just being honest. Men's. I hate to give the
All right,
slight to
then
the
let's
women,
get into
but I
the
am there.
women's Money in the Bank ladder match preview and predictions. We have got Lacey Evans, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch.
I want Liv or Shotzi to win this so bad, like in that order. That's like my 1A, 1B for
Right.
like just emotional picks. I won't be honest with y'all though. I think Raquel is too like obvious because I was really considering her. I said it very early on. I'm going with Lacey to win the Money in the Bank. I think Lacey's going to take it. So who do you think, man? Who have you been thinking about?
Um, do I want to go with the doomer pick or do I want to go with the hopeful pick? That's the real question here.
Okay, well let's unpack each one. When you say hopeful, who is your hopeful pick?
My hopeful pick is Asuka because I think Asuka Bianca singles match at SummerSlam would be banging.
That is true. That'd be fucking fantastic.
Plus, the last time Asuka won Money in the Bank, she never really got to hold Money in the Bank because she just instantly got gifted the title because Becky was pregnant.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
So, I think it'd be really cool if we gave Asuka Money in the Bank and actually let her hold it and like properly cash it in for a title shot rather than just being given the title.
Yes.
The doomer pick though is I feel like the more likely of the two, and that's Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, every time, man. You always got to consider her when she's in a match like this, and I hate it because you're not wrong. But
She's held Money in the Bank before too, and she cashed it in on Ronda, if I remember correctly, and won.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, because it was her versus Nia Jax. So I think Nia Jax is actually the champion. So it was Nia she cashed in on technically.
Oh, right, because okay, yeah, you're right. I thought it was Ronda, but it might be Ronda this time, honestly, depending on how.
So your hopeful pick is Asuka. Your doomer's Alexa Bliss. So you're not considering any of the other women, or you are considering them, and this is just part of the process. Like
my
Asuka.
sort of in between compromise pick is just Becky again, and that's very much a compromise because like I wouldn't be excited about her, but she's still fucking good at what she does, so I can't say that it's like the end of the world if she wins, unlike Alexa, who's just garbage.
Yeah.
I really don't think that anyone else. I mean, I guess Raquel, I think, is like the next most likely to win, after those three. Just because it seems like they want to really build her as like a top female babyface, and with Sasha and Naomi gone, they could probably use a new fresh face in that role. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't think Lacey is going to fill that, so I feel like Raquel's more likely to win than Lacey. And the other thing too is that we agree that Bianca and Ronda are retaining, and they're both baby faces in WWE's eyes, even if you and I fucking hate Ronda. So
Yes.
that means it's less likely that a heel's gonna win. Alexa's a face, Asuka's a face. Becky's kind of tweener and can go either way. Shotzi's a heel, Lacey's a heel. Raquel and Liv are both faces. This is a very face-heavy Money in the Bank, which is a good thing because it means that it's less predictable. But I think I'm gonna lock in. I'm gonna lock in Asuka to win.
Just to kind of go back to my pick and just to explain why I picked Lacey, I feel like they've invested a lot in her. Like, I don't think you have a performer cut the promos that Lacey has been cutting on the road to her return, about her upbringing and everything else, and really go into those places and not position her to be like one of the top baby faces of your division. I think that's what WWE has planned for her. We've seen baby faces win Money in the Bank before. I mean, Nikki Ash won last year when she was still a baby face. So
I'm gonna be real
yeah,
with you. I don't think. How do I put this? I think that the promos where Lacey was being really vulnerable
yeah,
were part of an experiment that I think WWE already labeled as a failure. I think they've already moved on from that character. I don't think she's even a face anymore.
I think she beat Xia Li to qualify, who we know turned heel recently.
Did she beat Xia before or after Xia's heel turn, though? That's my question.
After.
I know there was a 6-woman tag tonight. Let me see if I can find something real quick. SmackDown. Just a moment. Fuck me. Okay, let me see if I can find the teams for this 6-woman tag, because I feel like that'll be relatively telling. Let's see. It was, okay, yeah, it was, oh, that's interesting. So it was Asuka, Liv, and Alexa, which is a very clear-cut babyface team, versus Raquel, Lacey, and Shotzi, which is a little more because, like, I feel like Shotzi is for sure a heel, right?
Yes, she should still be a heel, yeah.
And, like, they were clearly building Raquel as a face, so that doesn't clear anything up as far as Lacey's alignment for me.
I still think she's a face just because she beat Xia to qualify.
Right.
So I'm kind of sticking to my guns here.
I just feel like she's so back and forth, it's hard to really even, like, land on either side.
That's fair, but I've learned from our preview predictions that it would be foolish of me to switch positions on something so ambiguous.
No,
like,
I
if you can't
completely agree with you on that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm kind of
yeah.
I'm
And
just
you know what, dude? Maybe it'll happen. I'm not trying to say that it can't. I have a weird feeling. I just don't feel like Lacey is on that level, and I think that the whole series of vignettes that they did, I feel like they abandoned them and they had her move to Raw, and then whatever the fuck they were planning on Raw, they decided against and had her move back to SmackDown. And I just feel like those specific promos that you're talking about might as well like be 3 arcs behind us by now. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't quite agree with you, but again, I just feel like your hopeful pick is Asuka. For me, I really want this for Liv. I think she is so over. She's gotten so good.
Yeah.
She's expanded her repertoire to be more lucha based, which I know is resonating with you. She had a great outing last year, and I like that she qualified in back-to-back years. So it's like a long-form story if WWE believed in that kind of storytelling, which we know they don't. Or Shotzi, because like she's fucking good. And, like, she's kind of in that medium territory for me that because I don't watch WWE anymore and I'm so checked out, I've probably forgotten how good Shotzi is, and that kind of pisses me off. And I don't even know how she's been doing as a heel. So if anybody wants to clue us in on that, I'd be happy to fucking hear it. Yeah. But, my big emotional pick is Liv, but I can't shake the feeling that Lacey's taking this. And so, who are you locking in again? Just so that we get that clear on your end. Who you got?
Asuka.
You are going with Asuka.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. All right.
All right, now we get to our men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We have got Seth freaking Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Omos, Sami Zayn, Riddle, and now Madcap Moss has been added to the field after winning a match tonight.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
You go first on this one. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, God, you know, it's a tough one. It really is because of the world title situation, because Roman is the champion, but we know that Brock is going to be the big opponent at SummerSlam. Obviously, Roman's the heel, but if Brock wins the title from him, which I think that we all believe is a viable outcome, all of a sudden then we have a heel or a babyface champion again. So really, it could go either way. I feel like Seth has momentum. I feel like Drew has momentum. I'm counting out Sheamus and Omos and Madcap. Well, I'm not counting out Madcap Moss, actually. I feel like Zayn would be the most interesting story because he's kind of an underling for the bloodline now. Riddle is far and away the most over babyface in this match. And Madcap Moss is kind of that like come up scrappy guy that's never had a real shot yet that they might actually pull the trigger on. I'm not sure. I'm really uncertain. This is like the most uncertain I probably have ever been about a Money in the Bank field, honestly.
Oh, guys, it's that time of year again.
Oh, you're just sticking to your guns?
Locking in my pick right away, Sammy for Money in the Bank. However, that doesn't mean I don't have additional commentary, if I may, while you sort out your feelings.
Please do.
Seth has been on a career fucking run. If he wins this, I would not complain. I think when you're doing the kind of work that Seth is doing right now, it's funny. I've said this before when we get more political stuff. I am a leftist, but I also kind of wish that we could have an actual meritocracy that isn't deleterious to the welfare of people, because the meritocrat in me looks at Seth and is like, I want to give you the nod because you've clearly earned it. Riddle, putting my personal feelings about Riddle aside, I agree with you that he's insanely over, but he just had that title match against Reigns recently, and it was, if you lose, you can't challenge for the title again as long as I'm champion. So I'm not saying they can't put the briefcase on him, but he might be holding it for a little bit because I have no idea when they envision Reigns' reign ending. So I'm kind of counting out Riddle for that, given that he just got a title match and he lost.
What though, dude? The thing about Riddle, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but to me, if Riddle wins, it just means Brock beats Roman and then Riddle cashes in on Brock.
He has been wanting that Brock feud. And Brock straight up told him, though, it was never going to happen. So I don't know. Maybe Brock's cooled off. I don't know. I'm kind of putting Riddle in the corner just because of the recent title match. I don't know. And then we get to the really interesting people that I think of. Oh, Madcap Moss, I'm also counting out. I think he's one of those guys, and we've seen this in past Money in the Banks, where it's like, who's the mid-carder that we can give this to really show out and really gauge fan support? I think that's Madcap Moss's role here. I think this is going to be like a barometer test. Like when he's climbing the ladder and he has the hope spot, how loud does the crowd pop? And then we kind of take that into account. I feel
like you're really between Seth, Drew, and Sammy.
Well, I mean, I'm locking in Sammy just because I agree with you. It's the most interesting story. I think if you want to talk about constancy, I think Sammy was on a great run before Seth even got in his groove. And Seth's groove has been the stuff of legends. But Sammy, just because it's a comedy gimmick, doesn't mean that it's not fucking astounding, in its own way. But so I'm kind of putting Sammy in the corner just because, again, that's the campaign. That's what I'm going with. But if I was to, not do that shit every year, which is kind of my personal tradition here, I really would be looking at Seth and Drew. But when it comes to Drew, though, here's the problem. And it's a good problem to have if you're Drew. You're so fucking believable. You don't need that briefcase to me. Like, I know Clash at the Castle is coming up, and the easy fucking match to do, to me, would be Drew Roman. I even hate that we're doing Brock Roman at SummerSlam in a last man standing because he already beat Brock. What's he going to do? Beat him again? That's cool, I guess. And Drew does deserve to be the man again. I have said before on this podcast, I feel fucking bad for the dude. He had the best reign he could in a pandemic era. He still hasn't gotten a championship win in front of an actual crowd. I call bullshit, honestly. I think when you're that talented, I think much like Seth, you deserve a moment like that. But I don't think he needs the Money in the Bank prop. But then again, look at past winners. John Cena's won it. He never fucking needed it. Brock won it. Again, never fucking needed it. And they were still able to make it their own. So just because I say he doesn't need it, there's been very clear precedent that WWE could strongly disagree. So, and it's funny because Drew and Sammy, I think, just got done beefing very recently. Like, they did a whole mini program on SmackDown that I think culminated in a cage match, if I'm not mistaken. So the funny thing is, I could even see the finish of the fucking ladder match being either Seth Drew on top of the ladder, or even Drew Sammy. And he gets like a Glasgow kiss or something like that, and Sammy like falls on another ladder, and then Drew fucking gets the thing. If they want to go with Drew. So yeah, for the campaign, I'm locking in Sammy. But if that didn't exist, and I'm really looking at this field, I probably would just go Drew. But I hate it because like I feel like he could qualify so easily for Clash at the Castle. So I feel like I've talked enough. I am very curious if you've sorted out your feelings, and if so, where that leaves us.
I have to a degree, but not completely yet. I have literally narrowed it down to two people, and it's basically the two people that you kind of narrowed it down to in your own little way there.
Yeah, okay. Very interesting.
Let me do something really quick because I can see that we're having a problem here via the Streamlabs. There we go. Just wanted to make sure that my volume was good. So here's my thought. It's either going to be Drew or Sammy.
So you are kind of coming around a little bit to Sammy. I'll be damned. This might be the most you've really considered like a campaign pick, like ever.
Here's my thought. I could see them putting the Money in the Bank on Drew, and then he basically says, whoever wins at SummerSlam, I've got the winner at Clash at the Castle.
Yeah.
And that's his cash-in match.
Yes.
I could see them doing that. Because I feel like the WWE's goal in recent years has been to make the Money in the Bank as meaningless as possible.
Yes.
Or as maybe even like as obstructionist as possible, because the Miz's Money in the Bank run ended up doing no good for anyone and actually made a couple people worse off than they were beforehand. So, and when I say the Miz's, what I really mean is Otis's. Otis's Money in the Bank run, basically that fucking briefcase was cursed. Everyone that touched it got fucked.
Yeah.
Because Otis got fucked out of everything. Miz won a title and got nothing else out of it. And the only other fucker that was involved was Bobby Lashley, who, because of the situation with the Miz winning the title, got turned into a babyface by the crowd and then had to be doubled down into a heel by abandoning the rest of his fucking faction. That was great, that everyone loved. So that was just a horrible situation for everyone involved. This one is going to get wasted one of two ways. It's either going to be going on Drew, who doesn't need it, and he's going to be getting a world title shot off of it that he would have probably gotten anyway, which is just ridiculous. Or, and here's my big thing. I think I'm actually going to pick Sammy, but you're going to hate it. So I think Sammy's going to win, but rather than Sammy's Money in the Bank win leading to Sami Zayn getting a world title shot, the thing that it'll lead to for Sami Zayn is a babyface turn, because he is going to end up losing something to Roman. Either he's going to willingly give Roman the Money in the Bank after Roman loses to Brock to give him a shot, or Roman's going to demand that he put the Money in the Bank on the line against either himself or Jey Uso, main event Jey, and he's going to lose it that way. Either way, I think all roads point to Sammy losing Money in the Bank to somebody that he's supposed to be, like, subservient to, whether that be Roman or one of the Usos or whatever the fuck, and turning face in the process.
I don't hate it as much as you might think. Because here's the thing. I am a mark for this fucking business. I love when people pursue championships. That is the one thing. And I love it with Stardom, and I'm getting ready to do it when Kyrie eventually challenges for the Wonder title. I love the experience for wrestling. That's part of the experience.
Yeah.
But because I'm so detached from WWE, I can't really say that I have that experience with them anymore. So the way I look at WWE is, are they making good money, and are they doing interesting stuff? And for Sammy, because he's so good at what he does. Even if he never touches a world title, which is very possible, Sammy could be among that long line of workers that were so good in their time, but they never quite got there. That would I settle for him just being back to being a babyface after being heel for so long, especially in front of a crowd, getting loud pops, maybe even leapfrogging Riddle, which I would look at as a genuine possibility from my side of things. And even having maybe just one great match with Roman, like after the turn, and like, oh, this is where I get my comeuppance, even if he would lose that match. Yeah, I think I'd be okay with that, honestly. Because I know Sammy would be okay with that. I think he'd look at that and he'd be like, man, I killed that. And he probably did. So, you know what, man, for me, and I know, I always joke around with the campaigns every year, like, oh, no, it's Kevin's time or this and that. This is probably the most serious campaign that I've done because I just look at Sammy and I'm like, this dude's fucking earned this. Like a man that can take a gimmick that true to life in one way, in a very scary way, but make it such incredible content that I've been demanding and would still demand that they release the fucking documentary. They should have done that. See, that's what infuriates me about WWE. Not to go off on a side tangent, but because we've talked about Sammy so long, I hate when a wrestler, male or female, makes a great character, knows what they're doing with it, knows the whole story around it, and WWE, with all their resources, they don't take it that one step further positively. Like when they did it with Elias with the albums and stuff, I love that. I'm like, that makes sense. Why they never actually made a documentary for WWE Network never made any fucking sense to me. I'm like, you're leaving money on the table to me. So he's been doing such great work for so long, and now this Bloodline stuff is intriguing because remember, too, just in case anybody forgot, and it's funny how these three are linked with each other, when Sammy won that Battle Royal many, many months ago on a SmackDown, and Brock and Roman were feuding then, Brock kind of gassed Sammy up, and he's like, no, you should challenge Roman tonight and whatever, and he convinced Sammy to do it. And then when it came time for Sammy's title shot, I don't know what he said to Brock, but Brock just beat the fuck out of him, right? He just beat the shit out of him. Then Roman comes out, and Sammy was barely conscious, but he, locks in the guillotine, and it's over. Roman just wins. And the funny thing is, before that, when Sammy won the Battle Royal, even though he was conspiracy theorist Sami Zayn, the Bloodline was laughing at him. Everybody was laughing, except Roman. Roman took a few seconds, which I love that he did that, because to me that puts Sammy over. He took a few seconds before he joined in. Because Roman's been so good at body language in this run and everything, it betrays him, because he was feeling a bit insecure, like, I know how good Sammy can be. What if he's on that night? What if he's on when him and I get in that ring? But then obviously he wants to save face, right? So when everybody else is laughing at him, he's going to laugh at him too. I don't know if WWE would recount that. I don't really trust them to do anything long form anymore. But you can even see that there's a little bit of a story there that even still keeps these three connected in Sammy, Roman, and Brock. So, yeah, I'm always hyperbolic and ridiculous with a lot of these campaigns, but this is honestly the most sincere campaign that I've done. I love Kevin Owens to death, and I always will believe in Kevin Owens. But Sammy, man, he's put his fucking time in. I'd really love for him to get this. And whether they do what you say or what I would have, and that would just be a successful cash-in, and the successful cash-in being the babyface turn, it doesn't matter, because I would just like him to at least get that nod. No matter how cursed it fucking is, I would like them to at least trust him with it, because he'd be one of the most entertaining briefcase holders in a while, and I can promise you that if he did win the briefcase, I would at least have a stream pulled up with SmackDown during our game nights, just to keep an ear out for when he's on. And I would try and watch when he's on. I can make you that promise. So yeah, man, I'm glad that we're unified, and I don't hate it, because I just want him to get the recognition he deserves. That's what it's about for me. So.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right, I think you're locked into Sammy. So just to make it interesting, I am going to pick Drew. Even though, like I said, I do think that it's kind of a 50-50 there. So because it's a 50-50, I'll just pick the one that you haven't picked so that we both have different dogs in the fight so that we're not just a unanimous front. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I really thought you were going to come in with me. I thought my whole speech was really going to get you to come over, but okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I mean, I appreciated your speech a lot, but I don't think Vince cared about it, honestly.
Yeah, Vince didn't give a shit. I get it though, man. And I like Drew too. I just hate when guys are in the Money in the Bank where it's like, man, I like you, but we both know you don't need it. WWE just needs to be smarter, and it's just like, no. Well, Has your hype level gone up at all? I think I'm going to stay at my
I'm
6.
no, fuck. I'll call it a 6-2. God damn it.
Yay, Sharesies! All right, that's
All right. So are we done here?
Probably, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we were here for like a half hour or so, a little over. We hope everyone enjoyed. Like the video, subscribe, click the bell, follow us on Twitter and Twitch. If you'd like to support us, you can subscribe on Twitch, buy our merch on Spring, donate to our Patreon, and share this channel and this video with all your wrestling fan friends. And let them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube and Twitch wrestling communities. We are TwitWow, and we are the workhorses of the YNTWCs. And even though this video might not have been the best representation of it, we're pretty fucking passionate about wrestling most of the time. WWE has just sucked our souls so dry that we cannot even force ourselves to give a shit. That said, though, we're still going to live react to... God, are we going to live react to this whole show, John?
No.
Good. Please. Let's do the tag match and the 2 ladder matches and call it a day, okay?
Dude, fuck yeah.
Beautiful.
Hell yeah.
Well, there you go, everyone. We're going to live react to the undisputed tag title match between the Usos and the Street Profits. And we're going to live react to the 2 Money in the Bank matches. And the rest of the show can fuck all the way off. So we hope that you're going to be able to show up for that and enjoy it. And, of course, in order for that to happen, you're going to have to remember to stay tuned.